seek and explore the unknown and also maybe question the status quo. In 2020, I fell in love with mushrooms. I had searched for, I think, the better part of my life for a solution to some of the things I was struggling with. As a woman, I had tried anything that a pharmacy or non-pharmacy would sell me, from herbs to essential oils to acupuncture therapy, petrochemicals, antidepressants, etc., and nothing was moving the needle. And I think today, when we are desperate, we're willing to try anything. And so I tried microdosing. And within a couple of weeks, my life had changed, and the changes were profound. They were in my sensory system, they were on my inner navigations, they were on how I associated my responses to stress and how I navigated my life. I looked around me and I saw all these beautiful, accomplished women that I know struggling as well. And I couldn't understand why we as a society today didn't have a solution for them. When they go to the doctor, we are met with either a dismissal of our symptoms. Oh, sorry.
What's happening? As you can see, we work in tech. It's here.
Yay.
Yeah, okay, good. And now you can see it too. Perfect.
Now we can see it, yeah. Which led me down the path to rethinking the system that is available to women today in terms of treatments. And I set out to build a brand that would kind of merge all of my ideas and all of the things I wanted as a woman to be able to have today available for me. I went deep down into the world of mushrooms. I traveled to China, to Finland, to the States. I met with every scientist that wanted to see me. I tried to use psychedelics. So, does anyone have a basic knowledge of
Consummation, yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, fantastic. So bear with me, the views may be basics here, but I think they are important to go over. So basically, how do we enhance women's cells with fungi? And it is possible. Today, according to the OECD, is the mental health crisis we're facing. And women are disproportionately hit than men. More than 30% of anxiety, burnout, depression is on women. An increase in antidepressants, this is over the last 3 years. Of course, COVID had something to do with that, but that gives you a hint of it. Besides the what I would call environmental stresses for women, we also have the hormonal system. And when I talk hormonal system, I talk about our cycle system that affects us throughout our life. So PMS, perimenopause, menopause, postpartum depression, etc. And for those, there literally are no options today. So what a doctor will normally do to any woman who comes to a doctor is that he will say antidepressants or hormonal replacement therapy. Hormonal replacement therapy has been linked and is linked to an increased risk of breast cancer, so it's not ideal. Antidepressants, and I'm sure that you guys know that, first of all, wasn't tested on women before 93. We were not even part of the trials. They work in 50% of the cases, which is incredibly low considering the side effects, which is actually more depression, low libido, sleepiness, weight gain, and a myriad of other negative side effects. They also have withdrawal symptoms linked to them. So I'm not saying no one should take antidepressants, they can be life-saving in periods. I'm just saying that as a woman, for life treatment, they should not be part of that equation. So how is fungi related to that? Serotonin, let's start there. It's one of the first things that is affected when we use psilocybin. They stimulate 5-HT2A receptors. Serotonin is not just a happy hormone or a chemical compound. It also affects our cognition, temperature regulation, appetite, sleep, etc. They are actually mostly created in our gut. 90% and more of serotonin comes from our gut and not from our brain. They're transported by blood cells and help us have this hormonal balance, immune system, and metabolism. So they're very important. What causes serotonin deficiency today, and again, I'm talking about women mostly, but this, of course, kind of hits also the male audience. So prolonged period of stress. When we are under stress for several years, months, etc., we actually decrease our serotonin. Negative lifestyle choices, alcohol, that glass too many actually has an effect. Late sleeps, bad sleep patterns, cigarettes, bad food, hormonal changes, of course, and that includes women in menopause and perimenopause. When we hit that, our estrogen just decreases. And toxic substances, and this we have all around us. My plastic bottle, in the paint, literally everything we touch today is full of chemicals. That actually affects our serotonin. And again, what happens when we have low serotonin? As you can imagine, all these things. And where do we go with that? So psilocybin can move the needle in several ways. So psilocybin, and I'm just repeating what you probably already know, it's a prodrug. It has to be dysphosphorized in our guts where it turns into psilocin. And the psilocin molecule, you can see there, actually really resembles that of serotonin. So there's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, around what it actually does in the brain. It mimics the serotonin molecule. So it's not, it takes over a lot of part of what they do and has the same effect. You can tell our 5-HT2 receptors to increase our serotonin level and to recycle it, among other things. Another thing it does, and this is probably what I like the most about it, is that it challenges our default mode network. Does anyone, you are familiar with a lot, default mode network? Anyone else know? So I can start, yeah. You know what that is?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, so I will still go over it. Basically, when we operate, every one of us, on a daily basis, we are very much using our default mode network. It's brilliant because our brain uses more than 20% of our energy, which is a lot. And in order to conserve energy, we have this mode network where we don't actually make up new ideas or thoughts or emotions. We default into what we have known. So it's a peel and repeat of patterns and thought and emotions towards the situation. Again, not a bad thing, except that it also keeps us in, like going down a ski slope, it keeps us in this track that every other skier or ourselves has created before us. And it is incredibly hard to break out from. So if you have negative self-thought or anxieties, to break out of that and to put something else into your brain is very, very tough for most people. We can also see on the other side here, we can see a brain, and I'm sure you've seen this graphic before. This is a brain not on psilocybin, and this is a brain on psilocybin. So let's just be very clear that no one actually knows what all of this is, even though they like to say that. But it just shows a very big increase in neuroplasticity and neurogenesis. Not exactly sure how they fit together or where they're going, but at least there's a lot of activity. The result then can be out-of-the-box thinking, plasticity, as I said, and resistance to adversity. And I think that today one of the biggest problems for females and for women, also men, of course, is that we are challenged by so many outside stresses and feel overwhelmed by the navigation in today's society. And if we were able to take a step back and separate ourselves a little bit from that, from those stimulators, those actions towards us, we could better moderate our actions and our emotions towards them. And this is what psilocybin really helps you with. I'm not the first one who says this, of course. As we can see, the criminalization of microdosing and psychedelics is really having a moment and has had for a couple of years, very suddenly coming from the US. As always, people are beginning to catch on to this, especially women. If you go on Reddit and you go into some of the female groups, whether it's PMS or menopause or just depressing and anxiety, it's basically brimming with anecdotal stories for women who's found really with this. Safety, I get a lot of you probably is aware of this curve, but I'll go here, and you have mushrooms down here. And this, by the way, is big doses. This is not microdosing. So this is big doses, it's less than 10,000. So in terms of safety, this is a very safe compound. Also, and I cannot emphasize this enough, this is not a toxic substance. If you were to eat 10 kilos of our truffles that we sell, you would, first of all, you would throw up after 5 grams because it's not that yummy. But if you were to ingest it all, you would just be incredibly high, but you would have no internal damages, your organs wouldn't be harmed, and you would not have a damaged brain. You have very, very few examples of people who have some visual effects lingering for weeks, but that again is in very big doses. I also want to talk a little bit about functional mushrooms, even though I know it's not at all the sphere tonight, but functional mushrooms should not be underestimated in what they can actually do for female hormone systems. They're very powerful, they're legal, and they are the reason I discovered mushrooms. Again, my travels led me to Finland, where I found an incredible organic farm. They harvest also in Siberia with the local tribal men, and functional mushrooms. They are hormone regulators. They can help us with anxiety, depression, and chronic stress. They basically even out our endocrine system that regulates our hormones. Immunity, PMS, post-PMS, and all of that led me to create Mabel. So the first female-centric company of Microdosing brand. The truffles, as again I'm sure you're familiar with, we cannot change that. Anyone who challenged the what is truffle and things like that, how are you going to make a brand? Let's just be very clear that today everyone sells the same thing. That's the only thing you have the right to sell. There's 3 farms in Holland. We all use the same 3 farms. And with the law today, I cannot dry them, cut them, put them in chocolate, I can just vacuum pack them and seal them in 1 gram. The reason why most people do 1 gram is because as opposed to normal mushrooms, if you grow yourself, you try to have a growth kit, whatever you're growing, if it's penis envy or golden teacher, you know that the potency level is so varied. So it's very difficult to use in a therapeutic setting for the general public. But the truffle has been cloned, so they have a stable psilocybin level of 0.10. So it means that you know that in every dose of 1 gram, you get 10 milligrams of psilocybin. So it's very easy to kind of find your sweet spot and very safe. The functional mushrooms we're focused on is reishi, lion's mane, and cordyceps. Those are the ones that my chief scientific officer, I will present you shortly, a specialist in pattern making of mushrooms and the bioavailability of their compounds, we have kind of decided that those are the ones that can best back up a microdosing machine. And as a last pillar, I would say, but probably one of the most important, in psychedelic we always refer to 7 settings. That is especially in clinical settings or big doses. It's about our mindset and about what we have around us. Now, obviously we cannot go into people's home and make a setting. I'm going to leave that to you, but what is important is the set. And today, just to give people microdosing and send them on their merry way, as I think a lot of brands are doing, is not only, I think, a little bit irresponsible, it is also not that effective. When we ingest psilocybin, regardless of the doses, or depending on the doses, we have what is called the critical period. Critical period is where our DMN is lowered and where we are able as humans and brains to absorb and to adapt new responses to how we think, how we feel, and how we navigate. It's a little window, but if you use that little window correctly, if you send people the right prompts, the right guidance, the right reminders, a positive mindset, through breath work, through manifestations, positive self-talk, we actually know that it can really move the needle in the microdosing regimen. So we built
spending a lot of time together with helath, which came on board a week ago. I'm pretty proud of this. You're the first one to know. So Amir is Associate Director at Berkeley SciTech, and he joined us last week. And Amir is in charge of building our program. Very excited about that. And also Dr. Anne Heider, Chief Scientific Officer, a specialist in psychedelic applications, and functional mushrooms. So both of these guys have joined us because they believe that there is a lack of treatment and products out there to women, especially in the consumer world. Of course, I haven't been following all the talks that have taken place here, but I'm sure you know a lot about all the big pharma and all the big trials that are existing, but there's no consumer product. There's only medication they are making right now, where they're synthesizing psilocybin and then trying to pass it by the FDA to treat anorexia, to treat alcoholism, to treat what's not. But there's no consumer brand that just reach out to the general public who might not be pathologically so, but still really struggles with a lot of things. So those two guys are really going behind the scenes for me. As I said, we source in Finland all our products. They are organically grown in a PEC managed forest. I don't know if you're aware, but chaga that everyone is using and abusing, I would say, around the world is a threatened species today. They are being harvested illegal, and they take a long time to grow. I inoculate several thousand trees, and it takes 10 to 15 years for chaga mushroom to actually come to fruition. It's a very long and painful process, and so it's important. I think we have a responsibility as consumers to make sure that our source is legit and sustainable. Yeah, the same team, Mabel, I don't know if anyone knows of her, a brilliant French entrepreneur too. She started ABCD, and she is also helping us. So today we raised $500,000 the past 6 months, and we hope to launch in early 2024. If you want to have a conversation after, or to reach out, if you know anyone, stakeholders, policymakers, or other people that could be interested in this from a female perspective, then you can find my details on Justine's the Brauhaus LinkedIn page for now. I wasn't as smart as my colleagues before to put a QR code. Next time. Yeah.
Thank you so much.